trying to think of an analogy that would explain what I want to do, but we're probably all familiar with the novel Lord of the Flies. Lord of the Flies, the theme of the Lord of the Flies was when responsible adults are no longer present, we have chaos. And people start to kill each other, in fact. And people start doing really reckless things, really dangerous things. In this case, it's not our lives, thank goodness for that. But it is pretty high stakes. It's our tax dollars and our public processes and our public resources. And as a municipal councillor committed to municipal governance as a third and equal level of government, along with the provincial and federal partnerships that we have, I've never thought I'd ever see myself do this. But I'm actually saying, just like the logical kids in Lord of the Flies, the rational kids, I'm pleading for the adults to show up, to step in and take over, so we can all go back to a level of sanity, so we can all go back to a life where responsible decision making is respected and not ignored. So I'm actually asking for the provincial and federal governments to step in. I think it's time that the CRD, as I said earlier, it's time that the CRD step back and the federal and provincial government step in. So in that regard, I do have a motion that I'd like to put forward for Council's consideration. Your Worship, can I just go ahead and read the motion? Thank you. So I'll ask for a seconder and be willing to open it up to discussion. So be it resolved, based on what I just said, be it resolved that the Township of Esquimalt immediately advises the provincial and federal governments to do the following. Number one, freeze indefinitely all funding agreements for the Capital Regional District Sewage Treatment Plan. Number two, order the Capital Regional District to immediately halt the request for proposals released on July 12th for a sewage treatment plant at McLoughlin Point. And number three, order a complete independent audit of the Capital Regional District Sewage Treatment Plan, including a fully independent environmental impact assessment and a fully independent socio-economic impact assessment, including specifically considerations for the highest and best use of McLoughlin Point as the harbor entrance and gateway into British Columbia's capital city.
Second motion.
Discussion on the motion. Councillor Hodgson.
I thank Councillor Morrison for that motion and the thought put into the process of bringing the adults to the grown-up table so that we can have a wholesome discussion as possibly led by our provincial and federal counterparts in dealing with the CRD to bring things back to reality and to come back with the right and responsible plan going forward. And I'm sure that our senior levels of government would be amenable to wanting to sit down and facilitate a process that would create the right results. Thank you.
Councillor Huntley.
Thank you. I love Councillor Morrison's passion. I agree that there needs to be some discussion at a high level and in a respectful and adult way. I'm not so sure that the province and the feds are actually willing to be a part of it. I guess there's no harm in asking, though. I got the impression that there was a reluctance on the part of the provincial minister and ministry, but I still think that it's worthwhile asking the questions. There's lots of unknowns that we were not privy to, and maybe they're never haven't been done. Certainly, it might be a way for us to get some of that information. My only concern is that I don't want us to stop having any discussion with the CRD while this goes on. And I guess that would be my concern, that if we launch forward with this, then does that stop the other conversation in a meaningful way and in a respectful way? So, I open that out to hear from my colleagues because that's my only reservation. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Councillor.
Just to address that last question, so as I said, this is hand in hand with the previous motion that council just passed. My motion doesn't contradict, it doesn't disallow for any kind of dialogue with the CRD. But my comments certainly said that the level of discussion now has become so damaged that we do need the adults to step in. We are, as I said, we are the kids sitting on the beach hoping for, hope that someone's parents will arrive on the beach and rescue us. Because we can't survive any longer like this. We just can't. It's got to stop.
Councillor Brain?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Thank you. I too love your passion. I have some concerns with some of the wording, and so I'll just put that out there, and
Open to amendments.
perhaps we can come to something that we're all comfortable with. The Township of Esquimalt immediately advises the provincial and federal government. I'm not sure the municipality actually can advise the provincial and federal government. And I'm
Sorry,
wondering-
it's not an order, it's advising.
I'm just wondering whether the wording would be better received if we were to use the word request. What it does is it engages as opposed to wagging our finger, in my perception. And I may be wrong in that perception. The similar situation under item 2, ordering the capital regional district. Again, I don't know that I think that language is confrontational, and as much as that's what you'd like to do, I don't know that it will get the result that you're looking for. And so I would look at that again as more of a request for them to immediately stop. I mean, the CRD are here, they've heard our discussion tonight. They have certainly heard from the public 7 hours worth of, we don't like what you said. So, I think the wording order is a bit strong, and I would have a little bit of difficulty supporting it with that word. Request may not be it either. I would like some clarification on the first one, and that is when you say freeze indefinitely, what does that mean? Does it mean withdraw it? Does it mean, make sure it's still there while we go through this process? Again, I'm not really fully comfortable because I'm not sure that the interpretation comes out to me that it says, we want you just to ensure that the money will be there, but please, let's take a step back. I think that's what you're asking. I'll certainly, I can go to Councillor Hodgins, and then if we can have some discussion around wording that.
Certainly, I understand, that it may be written in some more administrative terms that are maybe a bit more diplomatic, but at the end of the day, I mean, I applaud Councillor Morrison's initiative to have provincial government and the federal government come back and sit down. I mean, I spent years negotiating collective agreements, and at a point in time, management and labor would come to a realization that a mediator would be a good thing. So I would just encourage, I mean, even if we had to ask the CRD to step back and take a pause, that's not a bad thing. I mean, part of what was discussed earlier is how do we accommodate a pause in the process so that we could get back to the right and responsible approach. So if we tweak a couple of words, fine, but please let's not lose this opportunity to reach out to the governments and say, we require your assistance here to get to the right place. So the concept is bang on, and certainly very supportive. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you. Councillor Morrison.
So to address thank you, Councillor Hodgins, and thank you, Your Worship. To address your your question, so I have no problem with changing the word advises to request. You're exactly right. The township of Esquimalt has no authority over asking or telling what the provincial and federal government can do, but I do think that it needs to be clear that the township is communicating to the provincial and federal governments that we need them to do this, and whether it's requests or advises makes no difference to me. In terms of number two and number one, you said about what does freeze indefinitely mean? I think it's self-explanatory. It freezes the funding, so the federal government, the provincial government will not commit their funding to what's currently being put forward by the CRD. Indefinitely means until the federal and provincial government have decided that the problem's been addressed, and therefore the time period is now over. I can't say until the end of this year or until the end of next year or until 2020. I can't say any of those things because we don't know how long that's going to take. It's up to the CRD how quickly they want to fix their proposal and make it acceptable to this community and to everybody across this region, so that the federal and provincial government can be more comfortable putting forward their tax dollars to this project. So freezing indefinitely, I think, is very innocuous, very benign wording. I don't think it does anything to cancel the funding or jeopardize the funding, other than to make it clear that the CRD will not get the funding until number 2 and number 3 are done. And in terms of using the word order, you know, perhaps, Your Worship, you could even speak to this. I don't know how many times you yourself or others around the CRD table, such as Vic German of Saanich, have tried to request the CRD to do just this, that number 2 and 3 are talking about, and time again you've been ignored. I don't want. The only authority that can make this happen is the provincial government, and partly the federal government as well. The only way they can make that happen is by way of an order. I don't understand why we're not comfortable with that. This is beyond holding hands and asking people to be nice to each other. As I said, the savages have taken over the island, and we're at risk of falling apart. And I think it's important that I think that the responsibility lies with the provincial government to step in now. The moral obligation lies with the provincial government to step in now to resolve this issue. That requires ordering, not asking, not requesting, not nudging.
Thank you, Councillor Morrison, and having reread it, you're absolutely right. Order does work under.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Huntley.
Thank you. And instead of the word freezing indefinitely, I wondered if we could be a little more clear on that in terms of holding until or something along those lines. I agree with Councillor Morrison about, I don't want it to be frozen indefinitely, but I'd like it to be able to come back as soon as there is.
So the audit is complete.
I could reword it to say that all funding agreements for the Capital Regional District sewage treatment plan be put on hold until, and then go into 2 and 3.
Sure, that would be.
Okay.
Quite suitable.
Any further discussion? So, Councillor Morrison, would you like to just read out now the new wording, just so that we can
Okay, sure. Thank you, Your Worship. And I'll give this to staff as well in a moment. Be it resolved that the Township of Esquimalt immediately request, that's a change, the provincial and federal governments to place all funding agreements, this is a change, to place all funding agreements for the Capital Regional District Sewage Treatment Plan on hold until that was number 1, right? So until, and then continuing on to number 2, order and the rest is the same. Order the Capital Regional District to immediately halt the request for proposals released on July 12th for a sewage treatment plant at McLoughlin Point. And number 3, order a complete independent audit of the Capital Regional District sewage treatment plan, including a fully independent environmental impact assessment and a fully independent socio-economic impact assessment including specifically considerations for the highest and best use of McLoughlin Point as the harbor entrance and gateway to British Columbia's capital city.
Thank you. If we can come back just one more time
Sure.
to item 1. Perhaps if you would consider to place all funding agreements for the Capital Regional District Sewage Treatment Plan on hold until the following are completed.
Sure. So we basically, instead of three considerations, it would become the introductory sentence would include the funding agreement situation, then it would just go into 1 and 2 as being the 2 orders. Is that correct? Okay. So I'll just read just the first sentence only, just so that we're clear. So that it would read now: the Township of Esquimalt immediately advises the provincial and federal governments. Oh, sorry. Requests the provincial and federal governments to, and sorry, Your Worship, you changed the wording there.
Place all funding agreements on hold, with all funding agreements for the Capital Regional District Sewage Treatment Plan on hold until the following are completed.
And then it'll be 1 and 2, the 2 orders, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm fine with that. That's all friendly.
Okay. Any further discussion? Councillor Shinbein?
With reference to point number 3, and considering that we're also talking about engaging the federal government, I think adding to McLoughlin Point as the harbor entrance and gateway into Canada and British Columbia's capital city. I think the word Canada should be in there.
Yes.
All right. Any further discussion on this? Councillor Graham, anything to add?
No, I'm good.
Okay. I'll call the question on the motions. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion's carried. Yes. Thank you, Councillor Graham, for attending, and take care of your son.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
We're going to take a 5-minute recess. Cheers.